Highway 65, that's a piece of property they don't own. So it is connecting for the city limits, all well, you follow what I'm talking about. Okay, so that is actually all that's in the city limits. So what they were presenting was to put all of this, their remaining property over to Highway 65 into an R3, but that is not in the city limits, so that does not play into this picture now. Did I make that any clearer?
You did. Follow-up question to that. Then now we'll go back to the last question I asked David concerning the rights of way or access in and out of that area. Will the 9.6 acres that he's talking about, will there be the possibility for, you call it ingress and egress and in and out?
In and out.
Is with the city or this company not owning that property that goes all the way to Robinson Road, is there a way to go in and out?
The only access you will have will be over to 8th Street between lots 4 and 1, and then 6 and 1. There's two different right-of-ways that belong to the city. I believe that's 60-foot right-of-ways right there. That's what they are.
So then you'll have another way out, 2 ways out.
It's so cheap. That's the only way they can access 8th Street from that property is between those pieces of property there.
Skip, how about exiting onto Robinson Road?
Okay, if they exited on the Robinson Road, they would have to maintain get a easement right away from the current property owner or buy the property.
We own all that, Skipper. I mean, not the north section, but there's connectivity to this and that road on the 40-acre piece.
To Highway 65?
Yes.
What?
It's in the county, but for parish, but we own
So
it.
you own this piece of property from here to?
No, south. This I can get there. Yep. Down and over.
I can't see that.
Well, you can grab that slide, but all the entitlements are in place to allow us to connect legally to 8th Street without the acquisition of any additional entitlements.
We're talking about highway.
I know, and then as it relates to the highway parcel, I own from this tract through lands that are in the parish all the way to the highway, so I can get there.
Would you mind come show me on this map what you're talking about? You don't say. What they're talking about is their access here. That's wrong. It's on my phone here. There's already.
So it's not. We brought that to their attention. We researched. I always knew this to be the case. There was some confusion that came up. And so during that meeting, that's when they said, well, I tell you what, anything that's coming in, let's try to bring it in as R3. Well, we're here just to correct the record that nothing else is coming in because it's all out of the city limits. So the only thing that we're seeking to have rezoned is within the city limits.
Well, I mean, Kelly Martin was, all of this was going to be rezoned.
Yeah, but that's what I was saying, that the map they were like 225.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just saying, when he met with us, well, there was a question about my zone. But mean,
You have the boundary, and it's connected.
I was on the same impression that all of this, all the way down here was gonna be on three. But now you're saying this one is gonna be on,
which is the remainder of the city land.
Certainly.
it's just a little different.
Right, because there was a 70, it's confusing, there was a 71 ordinance and then a 92 ordinance.
Yeah.
Move up there.
Well, I just know when we met, that's what.
Right. Right.
See the way you're talking about going is. There's a connecting, built up roadway already about it through here. Y'all probably know that field, that means just connect that to this and come out this way.
With the legal ability to do that, we also have any secondary means of ingress and egress or any distributor or any.
What y'all have, you have R1 here, R1 here, R1 here, and you want to put an R3 here.
Got all three here already.
And it's connected to that, but I know Kelly thought all of this was going to be changed to R3. That was our question. And now we're saying this is out. I don't know, because before, Kelly. Yeah,
This is the only way it's ever going to connect to all three right here. That was only, even if you've done all of it, that was the only way that they had connected.
Your question, y'all want to put an R3 in it all.
Even though it's still there, it's still significant of it. You just have to pass it. Create. For R1, we'll have this zone, I'll bring on the family. My question is then, the recommendation from the zoning commission was for that large piece of property. Can we, council, alter from their recommendation? I mean,
If I'm understanding, Kelly thought all of that was going to be in the R3. Am I correct, Skip?
Right.
But now, tonight, we're just talking about that little tract north of the project. Or who wants to say project, Meadowbrook.
the 9.6 acres that he's pointing out, that's what we're discussing tonight.
That was not what was brought before the
Right.
zoning commission.
My question is, can we take any action on this 9.6 acres if the recommendation was the big picture?
I guess you could, but you're going outside of what the zoning commission recommended.
Right. Okay.
What they recommended was this entire spot of property that wasn't zoned R3.
And then again, Craig, you gotta look at, if you were looking at all of it, is that what the council wants to do? Make that little area an R3 instead of R1? I mean, that's your decision.
Right, but also, if what David has stated, That remaining property recommended for rezoning by the commission is not in the city limits of Winterboro.
Yeah, and I wasn't aware of
They
that.
have no jurisdiction to make that recommendation.
Right, so-
And I made that objection at that meeting.
Okay.
But Kelly didn't point that out to us.
Right.
Am I right, Skipper? I mean, we were under the impression it was all within the city limits.
Okay.
And again, you know, you guys didn't decide whether you were gonna make that zoning change or not.
Right.
You just listened to Kelly explain it to us. And when I say Kelly, he's,
I understand.
you know, he's over our
Right.
zoning.
We discussed it, and I said, you know, you seem to think that it's a larger piece of land that's in the city limits. I disagree. I stand by my application that it's right around 10 acres. It's in fact 9.6. And so that's what we're seeking to have rezoned. And he said, well, whatever is in the city limits, I will make a recommendation that it be rezoned R3. I said, I will go back and research it one more time. And our research has conclusively revealed that it's only 9.6, so the Planning and Zoning Commission never had any jurisdiction over that other land to make any recommendation, but yet they were fully aware of our intent and our application as it related to the 9.6.
Well, with the exception of that piece of land that is just to the east, if this makes sense, of the north end of that property that doesn't belong to you. Right? Is there, if you extend toward Robinson Road, that property belongs to someone else.
Yes.
But yet it's still in the city limits.
I mean, I'm going, we've had 2 hours on here.
What's the definition of spot?
Before you just put the little piece of property out and all one, now, it does connect to an old land file.
Yes.
And a lot of them, do you want that on three? You know, it's in your.
That opens up for anything, they can do anything.
Well, I don't know what all goes on all three. It opens it up for you. It's more than single family house.
But if Mr. Strange, if that 9.6 acres that is right now R1 and it connects to an R3, if it connects, it means that's not spot zone. And that 9.6 acres, he has a plan and a purpose for that. So it doesn't necessarily open it up for other things. It opens up for his project and this complex.
Greg, that's where I disagree. From the standpoint that in the process of doing so, we're talking about a green area that's going to be left there that he's not going to be using or utilizing. Therefore, what's going to happen with the rest of that? What are you going to do with it?
That's under a permanent conservation easement. It cannot be developed.
A conservation easement with?
The federal government.
Well, who? Which one?
I'm sorry?
SES or is it a what type of conservation easement?
It's called a land use restriction agreement. You file it in the conveyance and mortgage records here in the parish, and it will encumber the entirety of that parcel to never be a development other than it is now, meaning that the 10 acres is forever burdened with what we put on it originally. We can't go expand the site. We can't go, even if Walmart wanted to come to town and said, that's where, a new Walmart, I want to be right there on that extra 5 acres you got, I can't sell it to them. Nothing can go there.
Then the maintenance part of it is going to be maintained by you?
Or you'll come?
Yeah, oh, yes, yes, sir.
You'll take care of that.
Yes, sir.
So all we got then is a big playground out there. That's what it's gonna end up being. Are you gonna secure that area where it will not be utilized, or paths won't be made to go through it? Because you gotta look at the fact that you got people on 8th Street
Sure.
who put their life's blood into that little houses that they got.
Right.
And in the process of doing so, they may not be a $75,000 house, but it is a home.
I understand.
And I want you to understand that these folks don't need to be harassed because of people coming in or walking through their yards or having problems. They don't need that.
No, that would not be the case.
Yeah, that's what you say now. But we've seen the instances where it has happened. And we know that, now I know you're putting that fence up there, and I understand that. And David, I've sat here and I've listened to this before. And you and I have talked before. But I'm going to tell you, I find it difficult to trust you. You can change it to an R1. You can leave it as an R1. Or you can, if you want to go with an R3, then hey, but I can't say. I've said it before, I'm saying it now. Because I know those people that live on 8th Street, and I know what they did, and I know how they did it, and how they struggled to get there.
I understand. We would like to be able to keep the development, in the city, and that would be our intent, to have the piece that we own that's still in the city limits, and that be the location of our development.
Well, what's wrong? You're having success with your with it being an R1 and the single family housing. What's wrong with that particular area? And keeping the single family housing and moving your multifamily housing to another location. What's the problem with
the other location would be 100 yards out into the parish.
That's exactly right. Then you wouldn't have to deal with us.
I would prefer to deal with you.
I
I would
know
prefer
that.
to be a member of this community and to build a development that will house tax-paying citizens of the city of Winsboro. We're committed to this city. And I intend to be held accountable by you through this process.
And originally we were committed to your project. But it did not materialize like we thought it would. So now in the process of doing so, we're looking at affecting more people.
Well, I admitted as much as it related to the jobs, but I don't understand anything,
Yeah.
We will do better.
Yeah.
And I think that Meadowbrook is a wonderful subdivision and something that this city should be proud of. I'm very proud of it.
Is there going to be a gated fence off this back part of this property right here that's going to run on the back easement of those guys' property right there, where if any, like Mr. Doones was saying, through traffic?
Yes, it will be completely gated. The entire community.
What's your pleasure? Another question to our legal counsel. Can we take action on this 9.6 acres tonight? Same question.
Craig, I think it should go back before the zoning commission, because they thought the entire tract was going to be rezoned R3. Am I correct? Yes, correct. Which would not have been any question, that would not have been a stop sign. Because the entire tract was taken in as R1, the way Kelly thought it was taken in. And the zoning commission can make recommendations to change that entire R1 into certain R3, R2, B1, B2. Their recommendation was to make the entire tract R3. Is that the way you understood it, David?
No, sir. with all due respect, I mean,
And I know you wanted your little spot, that 9 acres to be R3, but they were gonna bring the entire tract in R3.
and not to use the word spot in this instance, because I think it infers something. I think that by definition, this is not, the action before the board tonight is not spot zoning. This is the remainder of the land within the municipality's jurisdiction that is tied to a continuously zoned parcel of land. They never had any authority in the original meeting to espouse an opinion as it related to the land outside of the city limits anyway, and I pointed that to.
And I agree with you, but they were under they misunderstood. They thought the entire tract, I wasn't there, Skipper was there. And Skipper said they thought the entire tract would be rezoned R3.
That's correct. I presented that map to them, that's what they had to go by. And since then, I've done research to make sure exactly where I lined up. I had another property question coming up. That's when I discovered that where these points are here is actually where the city limits lines are.
Did the zoning commission know that at the time you met with Skipper?
No.
That's all I'm saying, they did not know it.
But I made the request at that meeting when Skipper was there that I disagree with what you're saying. I stand by my 9.6. So therefore, why don't you just say that we recommend whatever land it is that you own within the city limits, that's what we're going to rezone, and we'll clarify.
And I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying what was presented to the council by the chairman of the zoning commission. And at that point, he thought the entire tract would come in as R3. And now we're talking about your northern part of your land, you're asking it be rezoned R3.
It's all that I can ask you to rezone because it's the only thing within the jurisdiction.
And I understand that.
But Skipper, didn't he say that, agree with us, that my recommendation is ultimately whatever's in the city limits be rezoned, because that's where our authority lies.
That is correct, but the way you worded this in here for the council to take action on, it takes in all that property that they were talking, even east of where the city limit is over Fort Robinson Road. And that's what you're seeing, and that's what I'm seeing too, that's what we'll have to go back and be corrected. Is that what you're saying?
And let them make a motion on that.
Right.
Or a recommendation. Right?
So on that issue right there, do we need to table this until the zoning commission look back at it?
I would think it would need to go back to the zoning commission. Yeah. You know, I mean, we're talking about another month or two. I don't know what the process is with the zoning commission. This is totally different from what Kelly did.
This spot right here, like Curtis, he does all of the churches. The churches. Okay. That's the city limits. So like I'm saying, we're working with on 3, but talking this block, but I'm saying, we're like the property right here, but that was all the kind of lands left in the city limits.
What is your pleasure?
Yeah, I would say that's postponed to the zoning commission to be back. And give, say, 30 days to the next council meeting?
Yeah, somewhere around about.
I mean, we already introduced the ordinance, and so I don't think we have to reintroduce it, we just have to advertise the change correctly.
Rezone everything, thinking it went down the right of the road and over. I mean, we didn't even introduce that. We introduced the ordinance to do all of this. Yeah, see, Kelly was under the impression that all of it. And when I say
So it's a 60-day process?
Well, that, the introduction of the ordinance, we did not have the description, so when we introduced the ordinance, we put that the map would be available at City Hall. So actually, the description is not all this. Just advertising is correct. Well, we advertise the next meeting.
Second the motion. What Mr. McCarthy was for the zoning commission to revisit and come up with a recommendation by next council meeting. That was his, I think that's their comment, right? Oh, that's what I second.
Mr. Gill?
Yes.
I'd like the record to reflect that the zoning application was offered on July the 13th of 2011. And y'all are attempting to put some timeline on this. Is there in fact going to be a timeline for when the zoning? I understood they didn't meet regularly, and this took quite some time. It's now been 6 months.
Can we bring them back in? Because it's a